Well, what's going on, fellow zombies? Just another darkened log. It's still the 22nd of August, actually, 2025. Time index is almost 9:30. Give it about another few more seconds. Still dealing with Shio Must Be Obeyed, the dog. And it's darkened. Trying to keep this dog quiet enough so I can get some sleep again. Maybe. But I'm coming across other things happening these days. Russia still wants to conquer its little territory, still wants to build up its empire. Trump is crowing like crazy that, oh, but Putin's so fun. I mean, Putin's this and Putin's that. The smaller countries should just give in to the larger countries. Why do this? Why do this? You know, the thing of it is, if Trump ever had remembered history lessons a long time ago, he'd realize the smaller underdog will still fight like hell. But unfortunately, he never bothered to think about like an underdog because he never was an underdog. Wealth and privilege were things stuck up his ass and every other damn crevice in him. So, listening to other people who have watched Fox News and how Trump's interview on there is telling people that, you should just give in to Putin. Saying that to Ukraine indirectly. But he's telling them to give up. Give up the fight. Russia's there. Problem is with Russia, Russia is using up other assets that they didn't want to do in the first place. If they wanted to do it in a few months, they could have, but they didn't. And the Ukraine's putting up so much of a fight and having other allies, you're not getting it, dude. When you get a big bully trying to bully some of the other smaller dudes, the smaller dudes kind of have an army of themselves. They're getting sick and tired of the big bully, and they fight back. Only in the issue regarding Putin, Putin used up a lot of his main end reserves, and he's drawing on others for support, supplemental, and he's using up a hell of a lot of favors. He's going to be owing a lot of favors to North Korea, China, maybe a couple other countries if they're willing to go along with a madman here. I know China and North Korea are scratching their heads, but do they really want to go through it? Do they really want to throw their own damn soldiers into a fight with Russia so Russia can get back its territory? Do they really want to piss off the United Nations at this point over here and NATO? Do they really want to go for another war? Seriously, come on. World War II wasn't bad enough on these assholes? An island nation of Japan fought a war against Russia in the earliest stages, the latter stages of the 19th century to early 20th century. There was a war between Japan and Russia. I didn't realize this one. And Japan won against Russia's forces. And they went after China. And they went after Korea. Japan got Korea. A small appendix-sized nation that had mineral resources. And also other resources such as manual labor. So World War II comes out and Japan's spreading out its island nation to across the islands in the Pacific. They were trying to get to the coastlines of Australia, but that wasn't going to happen. And they took out the United States because they did have a sizable force at the time. And it took us a while just to get our bearings and our strength back up again. But even with Allies' helps, we fought back the island nation of Japan. The irony of it is, early stages of World War II in the Pacific, we actually were aligned with China. And at the time, they were going through their own ideological warfare as well. There's much information I was reading off of some textbooks and history. So we're talking about smaller guys trying to be the giants of every other area, getting their ass kicked because they wanted to prove that they were mightier than everybody else. Turns out they weren't. And what happens when we're seeing wars in human history? Some empires take time to fall, split apart, break apart. It may take years, decades, centuries, but they do eventually break down. Russia had built itself up into a mighty nation, or conquered territories, a union of sorts. That because of economics and the constant need of pouring money out for its own military usage, they tore their own empire apart. And other nations formed. Late 80s, 90s came up. And then reconquering territories all over again. And Russia couldn't do it. But while it had its own empire, on its final few years of its life, they tried going after Afghanistan. That proved a bit of an issue. They tried and failed. And they never did go back for the second sloppy seconds here. Besides, Afghanistan had its own issues. Mujahideen turned into Taliban and everything else goes hell in a handbasket. So we had maybe 4 or 5 decades of independent nations enjoying peace for a change. But they're still dealing with Russia. Ukraine is having that kind of an issue. Russia overpowers Ukraine by the geographic or political pictures. Territory versus Ukrainian territory. But the bitch of it is, Ukrainian people are the underdogs. And they're still kicking Russia's ass. When Russia has to go to its allies or trading partners or potential trading partners, they're making favors left and right. So Putin can continue his ego war. And Trump has to say on Fox News that Ukraine ought to give up. Just let the larger guys overpower the smaller guys because it's not worth it. And this is an asshole who grew up in the United States. Did he ever pay attention to U.S. history at all, or world history? Or did he actually bother to give a shit? Pay somebody else who got the grades, and then Trump would graduate without learning a damn thing. Kept out to grift people left and right. So whatever he earned, he grifted. He had his father or himself paying people for it. But he never learned the damn lesson the hard way. He never did learn the lesson of 13 colonies had to draw upon another country who hated England's guts. So probably within a decade and a half, or within that time period, they actually bought and got their nation built. Of course, they were dumb enough to go after Canada to get more territory. Didn't work out too well, did it? Canada also had British up there. They tried to take over America. It didn't happen either. Problem is, we never did learn our lessons one way or another. Oh, we've had our victories against other people, not to mention our own damn split personality. Yeah, Civil War, ring a bell. Other countries having issues. Got drawn into World War I, got drawn into World War II. We joined the United Nations and had to fight another war on an appendix peninsula. We were also dealing with the personality conflict we had in our country. A lot of people didn't like the Communist Red Scare. They never did. Because it threatened their idea and ideology and their way of life. A classless society, what Karl Marx had been saying in his Communist Manifesto, which is still out there these days. Is it required reading? No, but if it is reading, It is a book to be read. Because unfortunately it gives us comparisons of our governments in the world, not to mention how we're looking at them. Even our own United States looking at it. See, we don't live in a classless society. We have classes. We have low lives. Well, I'm a low life. Low income, that is. Middle, well, almost gone. And then the uber wealthy that don't give a shit about everybody else. They only like living in a pyramid supported by the backs and everybody else. Why they live in their pyramid. If you want to look at it that way online, they've got pictures of that. And now we're having a constant class fight, not with the lowlifes, but with the uppers. Uppers keep forgetting that they live on us. They're on top of our backs. Kind of reminds me of Egyptians versus Israelites. Or the Roman Empire that broke in half and then slowly broke apart even further. You know, a little gist of history, guys. I read what was going on throughout ages. I may not have been able to study enough in schools back in the 70s, 80s. We didn't have enough material, but you read the papers, you see the news, you start getting your information that way. And you see how big the world is and how scary it is. When you get older and then you get more chagrin about it, you get jaundice about things. But when you start seeing things happening on your home front, it kind of pisses you off, doesn't it? So over the past 20 years, or actually almost 30 years, we're seeing it happening in our own front. We're seeing more changes happening than we can deal with. But Trump complains a lot. He thinks he knows more than anybody else. Braggadocious, isn't he? Bragging up a storm. But he never did demonstrate how smart he is. Well, you can insult the guy like crazy. But you don't become an ultimate uber grifter without having some brains in his graying cranial aging mass still stuck in that decrepit skull of his. So in this time that we're living in, keep waking up and keep reading and keep studying what's going on, guys. Because down the road, it's going to come in handy. That being said,